What's up guys, I'm Mad Morta, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to use these Gamecube controller joystick caps to go on your Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. Here is a set of Joy-Cons that have Gamecube colored buttons, but you don't have to use them to be Gamecube themed. I honestly think that they look good on all kinds of them. And since I personally feel like this joystick is kind of in the way on here, the C-stick makes it ever so slightly smaller, so I really think that that, in my eyes, improves it. So since they're comfortable and look cool, I'm going to be using them for all of my Joy-Cons, including this gray set here. So I thought since I'm going to be putting these on that I would just video myself doing it and show you. So first of all, you're going to need some super glue, an X-Acto knife, either a Dremel or some sandpaper, one of the two, and a sewing needle or pin of some kind. You're also going to need at least a third-party C-stick, if not both. You can use the original left joystick if you want, but it's kind of a waste of an OEM one, so I'm going to be using third-party ones. And you'll notice that there are different colors and qualities of these. This is the one you want, the one that looks less authentic. I know that that's kind of lame, but this one just doesn't work. And I have an example of what this more realistic one looks like. It looks okay from the top, but if you flip it over, then it's sort of just not, it's like a bowl. And if you did put it on, it would be squishy in the middle and not feel good. So I'd rather it feel good and look okay than look great and feel terrible. So we're going to be using this one. And let's start by taking our sewing needle and just pulling this off. So different kinds of these will have different sort of fasteners. These are not terribly hard to pull off. You just have to kind of work at it a little bit. So I'm working my needle around the edge, being careful not to accidentally push through because you don't want a hole in the middle of your C-stick. Kind of just working around, and it got to the point where I was able to grab it with my fingers and just pull it off. So you can really tell that there's a huge difference in how these are made. This one comes off just as easily as the other one, but it's actually useful as a C-stick because it's not going to be a bowl. For this joystick, there are also different kinds. There's kinds where there are lots of little dots going around, similar to this, but you have to break them individually with the pin. And then there's this kind where there's sort of, let me show you what I'm doing. This is one where I've already taken the silicone off, and the silicone just is glued or somehow fastened here and over here, and once you sort of pull up on those a little bit with your needle, then it just pops right off. So for those of you who want to do this, there's a vertical sort of crease or line on here, and they're opposite of that. So here's our crease. So we know that the fasteners are here and over here on this one. It's a good idea to get multiples of these since they're made differently sometimes. It's just a good idea to get some extras so that you don't end up spending an hour trying to pull it off when it's made differently. That way you can break one and find out how it goes together and end up with a good version. So here it is, and here are our two pieces. So the next thing I have to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to pull all of these out. Actually, you know what, let me show you, before I do that, let me show you how these go. So in order to put these on, you do have to pull the rubber off the top of your joysticks on here. Fortunately, the cost of replacing these has gone down quite a bit, so if you hate the feeling, you can just get some more and pop them in there. But really, there's no reason for me to do that because I really like how the Gamecube one feels. I'm just pulling sort of up on it. And there's all these little rubber tabs that are going to break off. So you won't be able to put this back on. You'll have to get a different joystick if you hate the rubber feeling. Or just live without rubber. But the good news is if you have a joystick or a Joy-Con that looks like this, where the rubber just came off through overuse or whatever, you can use this to fix it. So just pulled it right off. So I wanted to point out that there's all these little holes on here, and they look very similar to the spacing of the little dots on here, and I tried really hard to get them to go together, and there's just no way that that's going to work. So for the left joystick, this literally just fits perfectly on, but we're going to have to take our X-Acto knife and do a little bit of work on these first. So in here were those two bits of rubber that really held on, so we have to cut those off so that they're not in the way. That's a lot better, but there's still a little bit back in there I'm going to get, so it's okay to take your time. These are actually pretty sturdy, so it's not too bad. And like I said, there are different versions of this, and the kind with those little dots is actually easier to get rid of those than it is to get back in there to pull these out, but they're both perfectly usable. Okay. You'll notice that I cut just above it, and then I cut just below it, and now I'm going to cut the back of it, because it's also attached to this outer part here on the inside. Okay, so let's try this out, and if it doesn't fit, we can come back and try and get those last little... Ooh, I see it. Okay. Alright, so here it is, and it should just fit perfectly right over this. Feels good, and it's not going to go anywhere, but if you wanted, you could use your super glue to, you know, just put a little dot in there and then put it on, but it's really not necessary, and I kind of like being able to replace it. So for reference, this is from the set with the more authentic looking Joy-Cons, and this darker one that looks nicer, actually this is not on all the way, I can tell. This nicer looking one here is from the set with the crappy light C sticks that we're using for this one. So get those because they're better. I will replace this one with one of these when I get some more of these, but I ordered a whole bunch of these not knowing that the C sticks were different. So that's basically why it's better to get this cheaper set. This is the cheapest that I could find on eBay from China. So I'll be getting more of those. And you can see that the one on the left is a lot thinner and sort of more spread out, and I don't really like that. I kind of like the other one. Okay, that looks better. So there's that side. Now for this side, Okay, so once again, we cannot use these little holes. It's really tempting, but it's just not doable. I worked really hard to try and get it to work, and it just was not going to go. So I'm going to use my knife to remove the dots so that it sits flat. You might also be able to use scissors for this. Alright, so there is our version, and there's one more dot in the middle. Okay, so let's test how this fits. Fits pretty good, except that you'll notice that the Joycon is rounded on top, which means that we're going to have to sand that down with sandpaper or a Dremel. Not a lot, just enough to make it flat so that this sits just right. So I'm going to take my Dremel here and put it on the slowest speed setting. Oops, knocked my camera over. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is our slightly more flat joystick here. And if we put the C-stick on, see it fits a lot better, but still not quite. And I think that they could both be a little bit flatter. If you look, you can see it's a little bumpy on the bottom of here. So let's work with this one first. Back to test again. And so the C-stick cap is flat, but the joystick is still not quite, so a little bit more sanding and we'll be done. So I put it on a faster speed setting that time to try and get this done quickly, because I know you guys don't want to sit there and watch me sand. Sits a lot better. That fits much more nicely. So there's a little tag here I'm going to cut off real fast. Oops. here we have it. And it's going to go on here just like that. Now there's no way to really attach it other than to get a little dab of super glue and put it right in the middle of here. Be careful not to put a lot because you don't want it to go down into your joystick, obviously. And as soon as you put this on, make sure that it's perfectly straight. Okay, there it is. It's not gonna go anywhere. Be good to let this dry for a little bit longer, but let's see, I think this could be maybe a little bit more down. Yeah, so we'll give this a little bit more time to dry, and then we will have our finished Joy-Cons. And here we have the finished product. These are the brand new Joy-Cons with their awesome new caps. I think this mod is easy to do, and for the amount of time put in, maybe 10 minutes or so once you know what you're doing, I really believe that it makes a significant quality improvement over the original rubber. I just don't like, in particular, how the right joystick feels like it's in the way with this. I think that this cap is a little too big, so I really like how it looks, I like how it feels, and I think it doesn't necessarily have to be on Gamecube themed ones. I think that it's cool with anyone. So anyways, if you guys decide to do this mod, let me know what controller color you decided to do it on. And thank you guys for watching.